making videos for mentally ill preteens to laugh at cartoons and whatever else.
Just the fact that something like this could be so successful.
Does it really justify all the
Why she deserves to get doxxed?
Which is exactly
this is
not
my favorite content
what
ever.
Jellybean does.
But I don't think I'm the target audience.
Hey, what up? It is your boy Nick. So I had no previous intention on talking about this situation, but given the numerous amounts of people who seem to have incredibly strong opinions on the matter, I felt a bit inspired to push aside some things in order to make this video. So what is actually happening? So YouTube is going through a new meta, which is a shorthand way of saying a theme of videos or actions that content creators will make and imitate that will quickly gain them viewership or subscribers due to controversy, interest, or innovation. This can be seen in things such as Twitch's hot tub meta, where girls will provocatively go on stream to interact with their chats, and this boosted dozens of women's channels due to the controversy surrounding it that inadvertently promoted and supported it, helping it reach its target user base, who many called simps. YouTube, currently competing with sites like Twitch and TikTok, are now pushing YouTube Shorts that are 60-second videos and will soon also be making changes to the YouTube gaming scene. With this is coupled the skyrocketing popularity of VTubers and PNG tubers who will use talk sprites overlaid in videos. This very quickly was adopted by a now notorious and infamous YouTuber named Jellybean, who, combining all three elements, gaming, PNG tuning, and shorts, found massive success and within a year is quickly approaching 2 million subscribers. Their content, for lack of a better word, is a lot. It is the product of a young adult receiving a nonsense amount of fame, quickly exceeding all expectations and feeding into a dopamine high, and producing content that is backed by the rush of such a thing would give you. Say you give a Hershey bar to both a child and an adult. The simple act of eating a candy bar to many adults can provoke stomach aches, migraines, from just the sugar amount. With metabolism so slow, consuming more than one at a time is far more grating, whereas kids are able to rapidly consume and consistently crave more as the energy and hype around them increases and they burn off that energy much quicker. Jellybean's content is effectively that same sugar rush. It is in that way that I am absolutely convinced that none of the people critiquing these channels remember what it's like being young. The majority of critiques are claiming that kids should be exposed to better content, or I am left wondering why they feel the need to redirect kids who clearly enjoy fast-paced, exaggerated content to what they consider better, more substanced content.
I would prefer children watch the new MCY tiers than Jellybean, like 1,000,000%.
Making a kid watch something that you like does not necessarily mean the kid will still like it. You would think that this kid stabbed their parents with how visceral some of the responses have been, with what could at best be considered mildly annoying and at worst considered like heavy cringe. So FrostFox has recently joined what many are calling Jellybean clones, with similar content leading to skyrocketing subscriber count. With this, he too has been on the receiving end of heavy critique, but mostly just hate. One of the videos that stood out into my mind was a video by Harley TBS. Now this is not a critique of Harley's entire channel, but with someone who prides their attempts to be objective and fair, making heavily opinionated statements towards FrostFox and Jellybean and those with similar content, directly stating that they should prepare themselves for things like follower drops because their content has no substance, they have no personality, that they won't be able to make this a career if they continue this way, and making assumptions about the futures of their channel. While Harley's video was the catalyst for me recording this, it is certainly not the most egregious. This can be said for dozens of others making videos on the situation. To make such blanket assumptions also assumes a lot from these creators. It assumes that FrostFox has those same goals in mind. It's the assumptions from the view of a YouTuber sooner than someone who just blew up overnight and is still learning the ropes. But the food for thought is these people are fully aware of their user base. They can't not be. And most of the critiquers are aware of that as well, saying most of the audience can't be more than 13. It's like giving a detailed analysis of Dora the Explorer, when the point of the content is to be quick-natured and simplistic. That is the point of what has been explained to me as a comfort streamer. My main thought is a lot of this comes from people whose content does not coincide, whose audience do not overlap, and whose creation methods are not similar in the least. Which leads to a lot of being overly critical of things like auto-generated thumbnails sooner than sitting down and making one. I can't really tell you the last time I decided to sit down and make a thumbnail for what is essentially a TikTok. But you would do that for a commentary video. You would do that for much longer form video content where you might actually consider those things. What are they genuinely expecting from content that is literally a minute long and pushed majorly on mobile? It is pushing this grind set onto mostly kids that you need to be competitively different. You have to make your own thumbnails. You have to find ways to monetize your content when the majority of their user base can't even pay into anything. It makes these big name YouTubers sound like they are arguing why Ed Nettie is superior to Uncle Grandpa with like a 10-page dissertation. And even still, if these people's goals were just to entertain children, then let them make that community with simple criticisms on how they utilize that influence. For instance, the consistent call for spamming comments is fine to criticize when it actually impacts other channels. If something isn't actively hurting others, then I say let it be. I don't think a lot of these critiques are coming from genuinely selfless places, but sooner it really only can be coming from, I don't like that you have this many subs, and this is what your content is. Let me request you be less annoying so I can rationalize that you're as big as you are. They're giving critiques to content that even if the critiques are taken, these people still wouldn't end up watching them. On one hand, it is good that people can openly dislike each other without calling for cancellation, but on the other hand, it's the sense of entitlement that people develop when critiquing others' content due to their success and approach to it. The legit hatred I am seeing at best is an exaggeration, but more realistically, it is just a genuine distaste of someone whose content isn't even targeted towards them, vented out in ways that the audience can really only perceive it as being jealous, petty, and mean-spirited. There are people faking screenshots of Jellybean being racist and attempting to dox Frostfox, and the aggressive stance towards this content is sweeping the platform just as it has done time and time again for communities like this. It is the same crowd who would tear down movies like Turning Red. People who the movie wasn't even targeted towards are speaking for children and review bombing the movie because they can't relate and claiming that because they can't, no one should. Or here in our community, it's people that slam bigger YouTubers for posting Twitch streams as YouTube videos instead of sitting down, writing, scripting a video when you have so many other things to do, even if you actively enjoy your content. It is this entitlement that as an audience to demand creators take into account how we feel sooner than make the executive decision to sit down, look at yourself and say, this content isn't for me, and that's not their concern. Shorts are nothing more than a quick 1-minute video for people to rapidly consume and for YouTube to pull in some of the audience that's been shifting to TikTok for some similar things. With Minecraft being such a family-friendly avenue, it's been pushed really heavily into the algorithm. This content, coupled with high energy, silly expressions, and simple topics are of course going to pull in the largest user base, which is minors, whom I want to remind the audience is not a bad thing. They're allowed to like their content, they're allowed to do it just for fame, and they're allowed to do it for all the reasons that they might want to. The fact that grown adults are bashing this content just comes off as sad. You are fine to give valid critiques and you're fine to say that you don't like it, but the fact that you are going as far as to say anyone who consumes this content is brain dead is quite telling. Or, you know what, maybe it's just their ways of farming views off the situation the only way they can by just being exceedingly negative towards it. I don't care about the content that these people post, but I am happy for them all the same. And at the same time, I do want to give advice to a certain situation that I would like to advise on, and I would hope that these creators do keep this in mind. With this type of fame, or this kind of community that is full of minors, these creators are going to receive a lot of complaints targeted at the jokes they make or the things that kids will see, and due to the climate we live in, they will try to police. We saw this already with Jellybean, who made a harmless joke about a FNAF character calling the daycare man a pedophile. It was harmless. It was clearly a joke. It could be an unfunny joke, but it's still a joke. But that did not stop the backlash, leading Jellybean to literally feel the need to have to put out a statement that said they were sorry for the offensiveness and hoped their community would forgive them. Leaning into the audience for issues with apologies like this will let your audience feel like they can control you. You are going to become so obsessed with tailoring your content for your audience that you are going to lose your sense of self-preservation. And this will inevitably lead to small issues like cheating in Minecraft becoming a huge centralized part of how people refer to you online. The fact is, some of these comfort streamers need to put their foot down when the time comes for it. Remind the audience that they are a person, and some of these people need to remind them that they are adults, because if not, these issues will grow exponentially. Fostering a chill community takes time and deliberacy, and while spamming comments, likes, and views on their favorite comfort PNG tuber is something I wouldn't encourage, despite the massive growth it's obviously enabled, it creates this sense of community that can create long-term success and loyal fans, or very well could be the next Dream Stand fiasco.
If anyone is really that pressed about the comment, you can block that phrase from your comments. It's not that deep. Why are all these little commentary kids screaming about how annoying such an easily solvable situation is?
But holding these creators to such high standards is a bit unethical, considering the rapid growth can be overwhelming. The Minecraft community has 100% proven its longevity and ability to outlast, and even if some of these are just receiving small current from the huge splash of the Dream fandom, I think to criticize this content is not only short-sighted, but discounts the potential that these creators are able to grow and expand their content in the future while still being allowed to enjoy the huge rush from what all of them must be feeling right now. I think that we so often forget that the world is a deeply depressing, terrifying place in which people are obsessed with this obligation to stay updated on the latest tragedy and event following 2020's incredible shift in this atmosphere. The fact is, there are children creating long-form pedo accusation videos, becoming TikTok famous, and so much fame and so many eyes are on these people, and they're being forced to mature so much faster than kids should. One thing that I'm noticing is people just automatically assume anything a child does is cringe. LSP community, cringe. Gotcha Life community, cringe. PNG tubing, cringe. All of it. That you are not allowed to just be dumb for the sake of just having fun. So if there exists content like this that literally reignites the ability for kids to shut their brain off, being hyper loud and excited, then I say go for it. There exists a conversation around the fast-paced media consumption that's been provided by access to the internet, how having instant access to communication information, accusations, drama, tragic world events can instill long-term damage to your dopamine receptors, potentially the same way that drugs make you feel good, but eventually you need more of it.
Who are you pretending to text? My brother. Can I pretend to text him?
Or even the vice versa, which is making the world feel like an awful, terrible place that you don't want to be a part of and sink deeper and deeper into the internet for escapism. Why are you alone responsible for making content a certain way to appease your peers, to hit a perceived effort quota, or to satiate your fans? Does the simple act of making content or gaining fame place standards and expectations on you from the same creators that always chime that you should make content that you enjoy? Overall, I want more people to find success and try new things, and if you think PNG tubing might be for you, then I've linked some resources down below for you to get started. There is nothing wrong in making derivative content. There's nothing wrong with viewing YouTube as a job, a hobby, a stepping stone, or something just to advertise your other avenues like Discord or Twitch. I know for a fact that every single one of these PNG tubers will find what they want to do, even if it's just doing what works. And I wish them all the best. I know that this community is going to have its own hurdles, it's going to have its own dramas, but you know what, at the end of the day, do YouTube for you. If you want to do it just for money or fame, as long as you acknowledge the hurdles that come with that, I say go for it. When you are a kid, that is your peak time to be cringe. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Don't kill a part of you that's cringe, kill the part of you that cringes. My name's Nick, and remember, keep it simple.